essentially.
It looks like we're live. Yeah, you were just asking me
Yeah.
as I get my banner set up here. You just mentioned that you saw a headline that said, what did the headline say?
Potential Google breakup. DOJ indicates it's considering Google breakup following monopoly ruling.
Yeah, so that I think happened yesterday or the day before. They've decided to uh, they're more leaning to breaking them up, and they have to figure out which parts and whatnot. This is all to do with their monopoly, and we talked about this a few weeks ago when we were saying it might be the end of Firefox and a lot of these other browsers that get 90% of their income from
Yeah.
Google for these things. They're saying, well, if you're putting your search and Google search engine and you're paying people to do that, that's predatory practice.
Yeah.
Even though that's the living some of these other browsers, it's how they survive. So we'll have to
Yeah.
see what they break up, how they, break them up so they're not totally dominant, and we'll see if it's effective.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's scary. Well, kind of interesting to see what the so yeah, late Tuesday indicated possible breakup as an antitrust remedy. I don't think that's going to be a remedy, really.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're just talking about possible. Like they'll come back and they'll say this and they'll say that, and that's why they created Alphabet in the first place. Is it? Yeah, they
yeah.
created Alphabet. Sorry, I'm getting them and Meta confused sometimes when we're talking about these changing name stuff. Um, they so they had different divisions and whatever. So it's probably gonna be, hey, separate your advertising and your search. Separate this, separate that. So I'm like, okay, is that really gonna be a big deal?
No, that's just going to cost them money, and they're going to disseminate those costs onto the consumers.
So it's early days. They're just talking about it. There's no actual
Yeah.
decisions made at this point, except that, that they are a monopoly and something needs to be done about it.
Speaking of which, though, there was another ruling that just happened, I think, with Epic and Google too, where Google has to make it easier for people to install the Fortnite or something.
I'm not aware of this one. We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next time.
Excellent. So we might as well. Let me see if I can find it. What we got the first one? Oh, the Doritos. All right, I got to find my website, but let's jump into this one. Apparently, scientists discover that the yellow orange powder in Doritos can make mice transparent.
Yeah, this is both cool and scary. So for those, it's yellow 5, which is tartazine, which is a common food dye. It's not just used in Doritos; it's used in tons of other products. But it can render mouse skin pretty much completely transparent. So it's scary that it can do that, but it's also cool because it could revolutionize medical imaging, like vein tapping and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cool because it's scary because let's face it, we've all had Doritos.
Yeah.
Um, Even if some of us are trying to lead a healthier life now, and Doritos aren't in our general diet, we've all had them before, and we've all had that orange dye. And like, if we're just finding out that this is doing it, this tartrazine is doing this yellow 5. How much of this other have we put in our body, and how other ways has it affected us?
Well, speaking of other things, weren't we consuming the same ingredient that's put into yoga mats when we were eating Subway for a while there?
Is that what they found in the
Yeah.
tuna?
No, no, no. That was the bread.
Okay,
Yeah. But anyways, back to this. Um, so it's cool, but so the way that it works is it changes the refractive index of water to match that of fat, which allows the light to pass through the tissue. That's how it works. So it was cool because they applied a mixture of water and tartrazine to mice, which made their skin, muscle, and connective tissues transparent within minutes. Now, those of you that are worried about this, the effect is reversible, and washing off the dye restored the opacity. and the dye is exerted through the urine. So there's no trace left over afterwards. So there's nothing left in your bodies like other things.
Yeah, so this is a non-invasive and reversible approach that achieves tissue transparency, allowing visibility of living organs in a healthy rodent with red dyes. Note that the redness in the images comes from dyes, not blood, if you're looking at before and after. So it can now track dyes through your system. So that's in a mouse. Imagine what they can do now if they can take this and apply this to humans, which they're starting to talk about, so they can track stuff and look at your blood clots or potentially organs or whatever through your skin and have a better idea of what's going on.
Yeah, this is cool. But I know there's going to be challenges because obviously human skin is what, like 10, 20 times thicker than mouse skin. So
Yeah.
um, there's obviously going to be the question is how much tartazine is needed, and is it safe to use that much tartazine to make the skin transparent enough in humans, right?
Yeah. Says in optics, we spend an awful lot of time trying to increase how well we can see into tissue by 20% or 50%. And say these guys come along and annihilate that boundary by a factor of 10. So, this is
Yeah.
amazing. It's not
Yeah, this
magic,
could
but it's
eliminate
very, yeah.
MRI, not MRIs, but MRIs. Yeah, MRIs. It could eliminate a bunch of things where it's very expensive. This could make it much more accessible as well. If they can derive a cheap protocol. But yeah, this is really really cool.
You already talked about complete optical transparency in the red region, visible spectrum per the study, wash the dye away, and the skin returns to neutral. Sorry if the sound's turned up on this. I'll grab it.
No, it
So you
doesn't.
can,
Oh,
yeah,
the sound. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
yeah. So you can see,
Oh, that's crazy. That's
yeah,
super fast. But yeah, I saw the. Look at that.
yeah,
For those that
pretty
are
cool,
watching
eh?
live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
cool. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can close that now. There we go. So the biological tissues like skin are usually not see-through because light gets scattered as it passes through them. So based on these two types of compounds, refracted light at different angles, a light particle or photon traveling through tissue under normal circumstances moves from water particle to lipid particle being bounced away, taking a long winding path and oftentimes being absorbed. So this changes that. The
Yeah.
tartrazine dye, through its powerful absorption of blue wavelengths of light, changes the refractive index of water to be much closer to that of fat. So interesting.
That's really cool. Yeah, the Kramer's Kronig principle. That's really awesome. Yeah. Um the question is though, is although while it's doing this and while you're applying it to your skin, um, is it, I know it's changing the refractive index, right? But is it doing any other damage? I think they're gonna have to do a lot of research on that.
Yeah, agreed. And I think this is interesting. I love where they're going with this. We've got a nice article over on torontostarts.com talking about um, Doritos makes Mike's transparency. They're talking about the science behind it. And going into it. But I'm talking about, great, we're looking at the biological impacts. That's the natural stuff, right? We're talking about such as detecting cancerous tumors,
Yeah.
photothermal cancerous treatments, laser tattoo removal. There's a bunch of stuff here. Imagine being able to view the entire mouse's brain in exquisite detail. Now, if you could now modify, you could actually look inside the human brain much easier, like you say with
Hmm.
MRI and stuff. You might be able to target things so much easier and better. Imagine a surgeon he's trying to take whatever thing on the edge of your brain out and now being able to actually see it as he goes in. You're
Yeah.
not guessing.
Elon Musk will probably love this
Oh,
for his
absolutely. And this will
Neuralink.
be great for his Neuralink. So,
Yeah.
but I turn around and say, all right, this is really cool concept. Now, are they going to apply this to different technologies? Saying, all right, now that we got an idea that different chemicals, different colors interact different ways that allow us to see different light to pass through things differently. Are we going to be able to take that to an extreme level and I don't know, use it as X-ray technology, use it as not just on humans. I'm talking about looking through buildings, looking into the ground, looking into.
I don't know because it work. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if it would work on that.
I would assume not, just the way it does it, but I just start thinking about, all right,
Yeah,
you could do certain things, putting chemicals on metal or whatever that'll do something similar that allow this to happen. So I
yeah,
just curious as to where this might go outside of the medical field.
yeah. That would be interesting. Right now, currently, I know it's found in household products like detergents and other cleaning products. It's used in food for cats, dogs, fish, birds, and small rodents. It's used in cosmetics right now, but as far as this like being spread on a surface to use, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the limitations are. I didn't do a deep dive into that whatever principle. I can't remember what it was called. Um, but I'll have to do a deeper geek dive into it.
Definitely, it's the Kramer's Kronig relations principle, right?
Yeah, Kramer's Koenig. Yeah.
And, it just makes you think because, red dye gets a lot of attention just because it affects the body and people know that. Now we got the yellow dye. Like, we really have no idea what these dyes are doing to us internally.
No, and now they find that one of the dyes is making ourselves transparent. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, when you think about they're just discovering this now, how long have we been using this dye?
yeah.
Any last thoughts on this?
No, but just quickly, the Kramer's Kronig relations, they're mathematical formulas that connect the real and imaginary parts of complex functions that are analytic in the upper half plane. So, in the context of optics and material science, they relate the real and imaginary parts of optical response functions like dielectric susceptibility or refractive index. So, that's where they came up with that. So,
So if I
yeah.
was in the chat right now, I would ask, how many Doritos did the mouse have to eat to be make his skin transparent? I know they rub it on the thing, but just because it's a Dorito thing, it's
Yeah,
funny. All right,
I like that picture.
let's see if
Yeah.
we can jump to this next one. We all get frustrated by these CAPTCHA images. Now AI bots beat CAPTCHA all the time. So are we just going to be able to install a one-click thing to solve this
So,
for us and this is over?
before we dive into this, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So, when you do this capture, right, and it says choose all whatever squares that contain a motorcycle.
Yep.
Do you pick the square that has the tiny little handle in it, or do
Yes.
you pick just the majority motorcycle and nothing else?
If I can see part of something, like it's the light post question, right? You don't actually see the light, but you can see a 3 feet of the post sticking out in the thing that goes up. And I'm saying, yeah, that's a light post. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm getting that right from whether it wants me to call that a light post, but it
I
is.
know. And like I pick the same thing every time. I pick anything that has even a tiny little bit. Sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. I don't get it. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, some of these are, you know, uh, crazy. So how hard they are.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites of all time. Obviously, select the square that matches the Klingon bird of prey.
I've never seen that. That's funny. Click them all.
It's like, oh crap. Uh, but so let's get back to,
Yeah.
so the AI bots now beat 100% of those traffic image captchas.
Thank God.
So looking at this one in the middle, for example, you can
Yeah.
see, like, if it's a motorcycle, I would take this little fraction of a tire and say that's part of a
Yeah.
motorcycle, or this little fraction.
Yeah. Yeah. I would too. And even that top. So I would
Of
take
course, yeah,
yeah, that one. So the four squares and then the one up top is
yeah,
what I would take.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I do that, and all of a sudden it would tell me, no, you're wrong. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Um,
know. It's so dumb.
And they pull up another one. I think they just want you to click it on. They're just getting you to do stuff for them.
So
But
I read somewhere that you're selecting it to train AI.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyone who's been caught surfing the web for a while is probably used to clicking through these captchas. And if if you do any sort of multi-Google searching, they pull up captcha to make you sure you're human once you go past page 10 and stuff. It just so like the captcha's been around a long time, but Google's began phasing out the system years ago in favor of the new invisible captcha version 3. I mean, versus the image capture where you're doing they've got a version 3 which I don't know, I automatically use it on my site, but it's not great.
What is version 3?
It's an invisible. It analyzes user interactions rather than so you don't ever see it. It just determines whether you're a bot or
Oh,
not on its own.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
And you
Cloudflare. I like Cloudflare's ones is click here if you're a human. And I think they've got, obviously there's a lot more behind it, but Cloudflare, they've got a lot of great solutions as far as cryptography and different things. So I'm sure the way they built it is phenomenal.
Yeah, so here's the question. Do they think that click here if you're human is fool's bots now? Like, I mean, maybe the first time it was implemented, then you go, oh shit, it's not doing its job. Let me add that click the human button. Or do you somehow think that there's some AI rule that says AI won't click the I am human button because it's not human?
That's a good question.
Like
But like,
it doesn't exist, people. Let's just click it away, man.
yeah, well, the thing is I don't think it's as simple as just clicking here. I think there's a lot more behind the scenes with
Yeah.
Cloudflares. I don't think it's just a click here if you're human.
That's what they're clicking here, and that's the whole point, is that it's trying to, as part of capture version 3, you can have it invisible, you can have it click here, I'm human, that kind of stuff, or even just put that in there. And by the fact that you have to click that thing, basically it's tracking your mouse movements, how long you take, all that kind of stuff to determine whether you're human. Bots move with a certain, I wait 2 seconds, then I go, I click, and then I wait 2 seconds, I go click. Like, if there's no I move from here to there, all of a sudden the mouse is here, it was over there, now it's on this button, clicking, or tab through or whatever, depending on the tools you're using.
Yeah. The one I don't mind is where you have to drag the puzzle piece and fit it in. That one I don't mind.
I haven't seen that one recently, so
I've seen it, yeah. But so back to this.
Yeah.
So this is we're talking about reCAPTCHA version 2 image puzzles. And researchers at ETH Zurich have developed the AI system that beats it 100% of the time.
They used a fine-tuned version of the open source you only look once object recognition model to program this.
Yeah. So this YOLO is really interesting. It divides the input image into a grid of cells, and for each cell, it predicts the probability of an object's presence, the bounding box coordinates, and class probabilities. So it really takes a methodical mathematical approach, which makes complete sense. And so I know there's multiple iterations, but this was first introduced, I think, in 2015, YOLO. And it's not you only live once, YOLO.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, I would like to try, there's a bunch of models now that will analyze images for you. They're not text to image, but you can put PDFs and images in, and it can be part of its knowledge base and scan them and understand what they are and stuff. I wonder if you put those in, whether it, to say ChatGPT 4, as we were talking about pizza Turing test, would it would be able to identify those squares or not, or whether you'd need this very specifically tuned model.
I think you need the specifically tuned model.
The YOLO model was able to accurately identify individual captcha images anywhere from 69% of the time for motorcycles to 100% of the time for fire hydrants.
So it's the same. It's the same accuracy as a human.
Yeah. Do we click on that little bit of that motorcycle? Do we not click on that little bit of the motorcycle? It doesn't even know.
So yeah, it doesn't even know. So they need to rejig that CAPTCHA bullcrap.
So the battle continues. While there have been previous academic studies attempting to use image recognition models to solve recaptchas, there are only been able success between 68 and 71% of the time. The rise of 100% success rate shows that we are now officially in the age of beyond captcha. So I guess it's getting there.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see where the next one goes, right? Like what's the like where does it go? What's captcha version 4, or are we past that now?
Yeah, especially now that we've got bots or AIs beating the Turing test, we've got AIs that can beat the reCAPTCHAs. Yeah, where do we go from here?
So take a look at that, and I'm sure pretty soon there'll be bots that'll detect captchas and solve them for you. Like it's the natural next step that you would just have a plugin on your browser that would just defeat that for you automatically.
Yeah.
So go over and check out the torontostarts.com article that's attached to this podcast, AI Bots Beat CAPTCHA. They've got all the links in there and a deep dive on what's going on and how this is changing online security.
Yeah. Even if you're not going to read the articles, guys, go to check the images because they're really cool images on torontostarts.com.
All right. Let's move to the next one.
Yeah.
Microsoft kills HoloLens 2.
Yeah, so this is sad. This was one of my favorite headsets back in the day. I got to mess around with it a few times. They were the first to do AR VR, I believe. There might have been someone else less mainstream, but I liked it. I like how it sat on my head. And this was back in the day when we had heavier headsets and stuff. But this is sad because this had great, like, as far as the development that was going on and all that sort of stuff. um it had great potential. And so, like, I think they started in 2010. They had HoloLens 1 and then they came out with HoloLens 2. But yeah, like, we need Microsoft to come out with, we need them to keep doing this so that they can compete with Apple. So, or someone else needs to step in here. I know Meta has their headsets, but you got to be a part of Meta's ecosystem and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know if they have an AR VR mixed reality, but yeah.
So the original HoloLens headset will stop getting software updates on December 10th. The HoloLens 2 headset will continue to receive updates to address critical security issues and software regressions only until 2028, which will mark the end of any software updates. And back in 2022, Microsoft scrapped its plans for a HoloLens 3 headset. But a lot of people were thinking that, they have this design and technology is moving forward, so they're going to come up with something new, right?
Yeah.
So HoloLens 2 was first launched in 2019, just 3 years after the original. So the original was launched in 2016.
Okay.
It was advertised as a device for enterprise consumer, never really went well. So are any of these things doing well?
Metas are, I think. But Metas is straight VR, right? And I know that those well, I don't know, but it seems like those AR, I guess they're not VR, just AR, those glasses that we covered.
They're AR, yeah.
Like, the price point is good. I think one of the biggest problems with Microsoft is their price point was too high. The price tag was $3,500. I don't know if that's US or Canada, but that's expensive. That's Apple money.
Yeah, the HoloLens was priced at $3,500. Again, this is expensive as well. And so it looks like they're shifting maybe to an AR strategy rather than a VR strategy, like what Apple looks like they're doing and what you were mentioning Meta is doing. Because Meta, they have a Oculus style headset, but what they're pushing now is their Orion and their Ray-Ban version where it has certain functionality, and we're going to be talking about the existing version in a couple of minutes. So the question becomes, this has been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing, and Apple canceled their high-end Apple Vision 2 or Apple Vision Pro headset, the next version, and they're coming out, they're saying, well, we're going to go with a cheaper version, maybe a $1,500 version. The problem is the $3,500 version already felt cheap.
It was. Yeah, it was breaking very easily. Yeah.
So are these just not selling? Obviously, the price is up there, but the Apple Vision Pro, similar price to HoloLens, is aimed at providing a more immersive, consumer-friendly AR experience, while Meta's Quest has made significant strides in making AR and VR accessible to a wider audience, offering affordable, user-friendly headsets geared towards both entertainment and productivity.
So here's my theory, is that these two, the Apple Vision Pro and the HoloLens, didn't really have, out of the gate, I don't think people could see the use case for them. And then add on to that the price point of it. Now, the HoloLens, I think, was more for commercial purposes. But the Apple Vision Pro was, I guess it was commercial kind of purpose when it launched, right? But when we're talking the VR headsets, like, they had a purpose. They were for gaming, they were for different things like that. But the HoloLens and the Vision Pro didn't have that, if that makes sense, or am I off base on that?
Well, I think these are still, like, I've been following AR and VR, and they've been talking about them since, I don't know, years and years and years. Where you would go and try a machine somewhere because it was new and cool, but you had to pay like $20 to try it. They've come a long way, but they're still not mainstream.
Yeah.
So why do you feel that's not happening? Like, Microsoft killed HoloLens, understanding it cannot compete with head-to-head with Apple and Meta in the consumer hardware space, and understanding that consumer hardware is dead and Microsoft is not great at that. Like, they've time
it
and
seems
time
like
again, right?
Yeah, speaking of hardware and issues, like, there were a lot of rumors floating around that they're moving away from an actual hardware Xbox, and it does. If you look at what they're doing, that does make sense, because now they have this cloud streaming Xbox. You can play Xbox games on your Samsung. I can play them on my Mac now. I can stream it from the web, right?
Yeah, I was
So
playing it on my iPad for a while. I had you can go and pay $10 a month and start streaming games like right away. So
yeah, I have the Ultimate Game Pass, so that's all included. But
but I don't have an Xbox. I'm just saying I went and
okay. Oh, it's $10 a month for that.
yeah, and you get a whole bunch of games or something. Like, it's like
Cool.
any of the streaming services. So you don't have to have an Xbox. The question becomes, though, and again, hardware is expensive,
Yeah.
and a lot of times it's a lost leader. And
Yeah.
Microsoft saying, hey, why before they only wanted, for an example, Office on their platforms. Remember, for the longest time they didn't put it on Apple or anyone else's on Android. And that now that you can get them on those now, because they decided, well, why would we do that? Why don't we want to get our software in as many hands as possible? So they're effectively repositioning themselves as a software provider in AR VR platforms, right?
And it does make sense if you look at their acquisitions too. They're acquiring game studios, right?
Yeah.
Who are developing the games instead of focusing. Yeah, I know that Microsoft lost, I think, $200 or $150 per Xbox sold. So, yeah, it makes sense if they don't have to sell and they can still make the same amount of money and even reach more people, and by just providing an app on all the different platforms. Why not, right?
Well, at some point, you should wisen up and say, okay, why would I get into this now? We've been doing this for years. How many billions have we lost on this AR VR hardware strategy? Nobody in the market's making money on this, and it's still not mainstream. Let's stop. Let's focus on the software. Let's get all this stuff working. Let's let everyone else spend the billions of dollars. And when they've got something, that the hardware is advanced enough and we're moving along, then maybe we'll jump back in when consumers are ready for this.
Yeah.
Like, why would, like, again, it's great to be early. It's great to have your own headsets to play with internally, but they started with the Kinect.
Yeah. I love I still have the Kinect that connects to my
Xbox.
Xbox One S. I still have games I can play. I love the Kinect.
Yeah, but so many people don't, but that's okay.
I know.
It again was generally a consumer flop because of everything. Like, it's just a
Yeah.
lot of investment in the hardware in the AR VR space that it's just not, we're just not ready yet. And I think that's a lot of the problem is software not being ready is okay. But hardware, this is version 3, this is version 4. How many billions, like I said, are you going to throw at this? And it's still, we're 10 years away from mass adoption. Like, why would I
Yeah.
do that? So I
Yeah.
think at some point you're at a decision to say, let's focus on the software, because when consumers are ready, we can then do a hardware strategy, and all the hardware will be way improved by then, and we'll save ourselves billions.
Yeah.
So Microsoft's partnered with Meta and Apple to bring its suite of productivity tools like Teams and Office to AR devices like Meta's Quest and Apple's Vision Pro. So, like I said, they want their software on as many platforms as possible. The Verge has reported Microsoft could return to the AR hardware market as early as 25, 26, though nothing has been officially confirmed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have to look at the environment and say, is it worth it for us to be hardware people in this environment, or should we focus on having the best tools, the best development environment, the best software, the best stuff for everyone else to use, plus we will develop inside that, so we're already going to be a key player that's hooked into all these things, and when the hardware is ready and the market's ready, we can then come up with our own solution.
Yeah.
So this is
But like,
interesting. Go ahead.
yeah, it's so weird though, because like you have these companies who've developed pretty decent devices and the price point's pretty low. So I don't see why Microsoft can't develop
Well,
a
again,
cheap.
there's a big difference between VR and AR,
True.
and a lot of these things don't have the same functionality.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
if you
know,
yeah, the second you add in VR, then you need a lot more computing power than just AR. Yeah, for sure.
and spatial awareness. People are walking around and turning and doing all sorts of stuff in a VR environment. They need to know where your feet are. And some of these have, cameras that go around that are watching you in motion, never mind the glasses, to track you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need dedicated space. It's just not prime time, right? And do people
Yeah.
really want to be sitting on the couch next to somebody with these glasses on, or even out at uh, Starbucks or McDonald's doing this? We're not ready yet.
Yeah.
We still are at glass hole syndrome place. I think we're going to have heavy reactions when this starts to become public, that people are wearing around cameras on their faces again.
Yeah, because it's not very mainstream. It's a niche market right now, and yeah.
So that leads us naturally into this next one when we talk about what do we call it before? Glass holes.
Yeah.
And people not wanting cameras on people's faces in public places, just walking around streaming or recording or whatever.
Yeah.
So these
But
students, go ahead.
this is what I wanted. This
Yeah,
is what you and I talked about. This is what I'm excited. I know this is scary as shit. But sorry, scary, but like this is what I've been looking for. So go ahead.
No, students that use Meta's smart glasses to automatically dock strangers via Instagram streams. They
Yeah.
blended facial recognition tech, a large language model, and publicly available data to um, do some pretty creepy things. So why don't you take it over and then we'll just talk about it.
Yeah, this is cool. So what they did was it streams video from the glasses to Instagram, and then the computer program uses facial recognition and AI to pull information from various online sources. So the AI can potentially retrieve a person's name, home address, phone number, and details about relatives just by looking at them. And for those of you that don't know, there actually is
e-book classes that let you
it's not a
identify
site.
any.
What's that?
Sorry, keep going. I just playing the video where they're talking about it. So
Oh, So there is actually, for those of you that don't know, there's a tool called Sherlock that finds matching usernames across 400 different social media networks. It's quite a extensive install for you to do, but just so people are like, oh, that can't be done. Like that takes a lot of work. No, there's open source solutions that and public record lookups and all that sort of stuff that they can use to do this. So the project uses off-the-shelf smart glasses. It uses facial recognition models similar to those in public face search engines. It uses LLMs for data extraction and public record lookup services. So now, the researchers do emphasize that their goal is to raise awareness about privacy concerns and not to create a commercial product. So, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, this is kind of, you and I have talked about this many times. I would love something like this only for if I'm going to a networking event, I have the name of the person and how I know them. That would be great.
Yeah, so in this video here, I just paused it at this one spot so we can see they're testing it live on a real person in the subway, and I'll talk us through it as we go through this.
Yeah.
We're seeing the results that this person works at the Cambridge Community Foundation, and he walks up to her and says, "Hi, ma'am, are you Betsy?" And username, not staged, never met before. So, yeah, I said, I met you at the Cambridge Community Foundation, right? Yeah, it's great to meet you. I'm blah, blah, blah. So he just walked up for her and started talking and didn't know her at all. And all of a sudden he's in saying, we met before, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty scary stuff when you start thinking about what kind of stalker tools these could be. It's great, for example, though, if you're thinking about, where does it draw the line, right? You walk into an event and you turn it on and say, search LinkedIn for these people, and the ones I'm connected to show me, and the ones I'm not connected to show me their a little information, or use my AI to tell me whether I should be connected to them or not, and get that information. Okay, now you have 100 people, images, and whatever in your thing, and know who they are, and you haven't met them. Is that creepy or cool?
It can be both. It's a Schrodinger cat. It's creepy and cool both at the same time until someone determines whether or not it's creepy or cool. Yeah, it's invasive for sure, but the underlying thing too is that if this does become mainstream, I think it's going to make people finally wake up and take control of their data with all of these sites and make things more private, and maybe it might even encourage people to just get offline. Who knows?
But like everything, like this is one of those things. When you say if it becomes mainstream, with the internet and the world as it is now, the cat's out of the bag. Information, the theory was back in 70s, 80s, maybe you remember this, information wants to be free. Information wants to be out there and all that stuff. But it's funny thinking about it now. But once it's out, you can't take it back. Like,
no,
you can, people are going to say, oh, this is great. Where can I download the paper? Where can I get the code? It's probably in a GitHub somewhere. And pretty soon we're going to have this. And if we're not this code, someone else will have figured this out. And they're just walking around talking to people. They're getting their names and info. They're getting photos. They're pulling it all into their phone. And now they have a database on this individual, where they were, what they did. You got a summer scholarship. Oh, hey, they walked up to somebody and said, hey, their name. You work with this stuff. Oh, your work is great. I love it. Blah, blah, blah. And, this is interesting. So,
like you and I could even build this. I was just thinking about it right now, because all you're doing is you're essentially interfacing with APIs. So the toughest part, I think, would be to get the accuracy of the facial recognition, and then all you're doing is then you're calling the API for LinkedIn, right, and getting a bunch of information, and then displaying that on the phone. That's pretty much it, is it not?
Well, what they're doing is right here in this technical document that is publicly available on the links in our website at torontostarts.com, and the other ones, the eye X-ray, the AI glass that reveals everyone's personal details. And it specifically talks about their LLMs, what software they use, removal of reverse face search engines. It's pretty interesting. on what they do here. Now, I mean, they don't give you the code or anything, but you can
Yeah.
get to it, I would imagine, eventually. So take a look at it. They're doing some interesting
Yeah.
stuff, but you can see
Yeah.
here that you take his picture with this eye x-ray and you get all these pictures. You get educational age, where they go, address, phone number, potential email, and a whole bunch of stuff around about their profile. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
amazing.
crazy. Yeah. Like if used properly, I think there's some great use cases for it, but obviously there's a lot of nefarious use cases as well. But with everything, there's always that, right?
Yeah. So let me ask a question. If you
Hmm.
could get that code today, would you be running out and getting some Meta glasses and trying it out?
Absolutely. No, I don't know, because I would want glasses that could display the information on the glasses themselves.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. So actually, there is an article we can cover it next time I put it in our list.
Okay.
There are glasses that do that. They are called, what are they called? Even realities. You'd actually like them. They're G1 even realities. But anyways, we can talk about them. I don't know if they have cameras built in, so I'd have to look into that. But yeah.
All right. Any last words on this? Oh, by the way, go over to TorontoStarts.com where this podcast is located. Check out the Meta Auto-Doxing smart glasses. We've got a whole bunch of links and stuff in there so you can follow that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So guess what?
Hmm.
Microsoft is back in the news.
Microsoft lied
Again.
What a
Yeah.
surprise.
And so
Go ahead.
apparently,
This one's more yours, but I can certainly speak to it. But yeah,
apparently, if we remember this, because we talked about it,
I do remember.
we talked about it, I think, twice, because there was a big Microsoft came out and said, look at our new feature, Recall.
Yeah.
We track everything you do. Take your screenshot every 3 seconds, everything you enter in the computer, every website you go to, all your private incognito searches you don't want, all your customer data information, everything. They take it all and they back it up and store it in their AI so you can look at it later just in case. And
Yeah.
everyone said, what the F? You know, what is this thing? We don't want it. And Microsoft, too bad, it's mandatory. You know, we're doing this in all Windows 11 machines featuring this new chipset.
Mhm.
And everyone said, yeah, I guess we're all moving away from Windows. And so Microsoft came out later and said, oh, no, we're making it optional. It's not mandatory. It's a little complicated to go in and turn it off, but we're going to make it optional. And now they've come out and said, well, we're not making it optional. That was a glitch to make it look like it was optional, and we've fixed the glitch. It's like we're at Office Space. Oh, there was a glitch. He should have been fired. He was fired ages ago. They just didn't stop paying him. That was a glitch in
Milton.
payroll. Yeah. So we just fixed the glitch. We figure the rest of it will work itself out. So they fixed the glitch. So they've come back and said, oh, no, it's mandatory. And not only is it mandatory, it's mandatory in Windows 11 2024 half 2 version. So if you're updating in this second half, you have it. It doesn't matter what you're running on the machine. And not only that, it's a requirement for Spotlight. I think it's Spotlight in Microsoft. It might be, I think it's Finder here, for Spotlight to run. So you can't even open up your folders and stuff without this in your system. There are some ways to go back and turn it on. So like, I think this is going to cause a mass exodus from Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like, honestly, and as much as I hate Apple, I think they have a superior OS. So way better than Windows. Obviously it's based on Linux, right? So, or Unix, I can't remember, but I don't. I know Windows, and Windows based hardware is more accessible than Mac, so I get it. But the OS is just It's not there. They were innovative back in the day with Windows 3.1, Windows, all that, Windows 95, 98 even, but not anymore.
And you need to, it says, it's mandatory on Copilot Plus PC features. But again, they're lying to you. It's mandatory, period. It's part of the core operating system. It is mandatory to be there, or you can't actually go and use the file system and stuff. So it's not just on these new fancy AI machines. You don't have to have AI to run it. I was watching the YouTube video where they were tracking this stuff and say, oh, look, here it is.
Yeah.
And you have to disable these other things. You can't disable the service. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. You got to play around with stuff behind the scenes. So it is crazy what they're doing. And, I'm shocked that they didn't learn their lesson.
Yeah, it's so apparently they are there's going to be some additional privacy safeguards, including Windows Hello authentication for accessing the saved activity. Why wouldn't that have been from the start? I don't get it, but
well, we talked about this again because they came out and said this is super secure. We're going to have all this stuff. It's going to be, you can go back anytime and get the data at any point, what it looked like, what it was.
Yeah.
Great. Except, 2 days later it was hacked. People cracked it. And so we can get all this information now from everybody's PC everywhere. So it's a huge risk. Why are we recording this stuff? And then, they say, oh, no, it's optional. It's this, it's that. Now they're coming out and say, oh, yeah, no, trust us, bro. It's secure again. Like, we're going to secure it. Like you said last time, and you got to sit back and say, okay, why would I move forward unless I absolutely had to with a company that just wants to take all your data, everything you do, and then use it for whatever reason. And like,
question is though, right?
In this day and age,
these are being uncovered, right? Question is though, how do we know Apple's not doing the same thing?
Yeah,
right?
We 100% we don't know. But this is a public feature.
They're just good at hiding it compared to Microsoft, I think.
Well, I also think that we'll see when the AI starts. But people track this stuff on the network, right? They got the betas, they got these releases, and people say, "Oh, why is this talking at Microsoft? What's going on here?" And they start tracking the network traffic. They start, And I used to run a little thing on my Mac called Little Snitch, which is a firewall app, and I love it. And I might run it again, but I haven't paid for it for a few years. And my Mac upgrades every year, so you got to buy a new version, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't if you set up properly, you don't explicitly allow a certain thing to do it, you won't. And I had half the services just not doing stuff because they would go out and I'm saying, what is this? Nope, disable that, disable that, disable that. So it would try and go out to Apple or try and go out to Microsoft, and it just wouldn't because my firewall would just stop it. And that's what you're going to see with this stuff, right? If it's trying to do that, they're just going to stop it.
Yeah.
Well, where do you think this is going next?
I don't know, but now I know Microsoft is in focus of people, and they're going to be under the microscope now. So good luck. So they better make some smart decisions going forward.
Not only I sit back and say, one, not only is it amazingly intrusive to, the most alarming feature is the 3-second screenshot rule. Every 3 seconds, Recall AI captures a screenshot of your activity. Doesn't matter what you're doing. All right, great. How much CPU is that taking? I bought this computer to run my crap. I didn't buy it to take 90% of the CPU to take screenshots every 3 seconds and then store it somewhere, analyze it, put all this data together so that for whatever reason, that's some heavy lifting. And you got to go back to an operating system and say, you're doing this all for you and I'm paying for it. And that's effing ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm paying for it with less battery power, with more CPU usage. Yeah.
And you're paying for the hardware and you're paying for the software. And they're just doing whatever the heck they want with it. You buy the hardware, you buy software, and we're going to run whatever we want on it. And too bad if you want to run stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't to me doesn't make any sense, especially when they make it mandatory for, all the machines and whatnot. But
Exactly.
I think there's going to be massive blowback on this. I think you're going to see, again, because they didn't handle this right, you're going to see a mass exodus from.
I hope so.
Well, every single IT person out there will no longer be able to run Windows.
Yeah.
Because all their customer data, all the secure backend data, all the stuff will be available on this 3-second rule thing that's going to be stored, backed up, and Microsoft has it that's going to be completely hackable. And do you want your IT person having a Windows machine coming in, working on your network, working on the security, working on all this stuff, and knowing that they've got this on their machine?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. When you're doing desktop support, you're remotely into a client machine and you're helping them with a CRM that's got their client data on the screen. Who has rights to see that? Like, this is crazy that they're doing it, but we'll have to see. All right. We got one more topic to talk about.
Yeah.
And, one of your favorite topics is hydrogen.
Yeah, this is great. This is cool because this will help integrate hydrogen into the mainstream, I think. And think of this like a jerry can for your electric vehicle. That's how I think of it. So they've got these portable hydrogen cartridges that resemble essentially oversized AA batteries or D or C, whatever, potentially revolutionizing.
Like, the portable speakers that people have a lot of.
Yeah, the pills or portable speakers. So they're designed to be lightweight, easily carried by hand, and it makes sense because hydrogen is lightweight, right? So they could allow EV vehicles or FC EV vehicles to swap out power sources instead of refueling at stations. And the technology could extend beyond vehicles. So where I see this too is potentially you could integrate this into electric vehicles, and that could be a power source to recharge your vehicle. So it could be and this is where I was going with this. This isn't what it is, but it could be a hydrogen powered charger, like portable charger kind of thing, right? Where you get a little bit of extra juice for your EV. But this is specifically for fuel cell EVs, but still.
So this is extra hydrogen for hydrogen fuel cell EVs.
Yeah.
The cartridge would allow fuel cell electric vehicle drivers to swap out their power source when hydrogen levels run low, rather than having to refuel at a station like you typically would. Do they say how much you can fit in one of these?
No, there wasn't much. There wasn't much details on it, and I didn't have time to do a deep dive into it on other websites. But I do know that I can speak to Toyota. Like, they are exploring other sustainable technologies such as liquid hydrogen powered Corolla race car and Sweep energy storage system, which repurposes batteries from end of life electrified vehicles. But I couldn't find any more details about this specific portable hydrogen cartridge. No.
Yeah, we've got an article on TorontoStarts.com where we go into a deep dive on these things. Zero emissions, sustainable and renewable, swappable cartridges, longer power supply for hydrogen fuel cells, versatile applications for from powering electric wheels to provide backup power for homes and devices. So the problem is that you've got to put more than just this hydrogen fuel cell. You have to put all the electronics and turn it into electricity in order to make it power other things other than, say, electronic fuel cell vehicle, hydrogen fuel cell vehicle.
Yeah.
So, but hydrogen energy isn't just for vehicles. These cartridges can be used to power home appliances, especially if off-grid emergency situations. Portable hydrogen fuel cells could also change how we power everyday devices like laptops, smartphones, and gaming devices. Having one of these things in your backpack so you can just plug in stuff into
That's where I was thinking of it's going. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there are, obviously safety concerns with hydrogen storage because, hydrogen and oxygen don't mix without boom. And
but I think I honestly think this is great. This is a great potential. I think If someone can create a portable battery pack kind of thing using hydrogen, obviously, like if we look at what we talked about with the drone and how far that could go, imagine how much juice you could get out of a portable charger using hydrogen.
Yeah, and I haven't found how much extra range it gives you, but if I had a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, I would grab one of these and have it in the trunk, obviously,
Absolutely. Yeah.
to as like you said, as a jerry can, so you can, get that extra 20 miles to the gas station or the I guess the fuel cell refueling station.
Yeah, exactly.
And are we seeing a more of an infrastructure on these things? We talked about
Not
Walmart
yet.
doing their truck stuff. So they'll have to build out their own infrastructure probably, but because the closest one is in Mississauga in our area, we don't have.
Yeah. I haven't heard much more about the hydrogen infrastructure yet, but who knows? Let's hope.
But yeah,
It's a slow process, right? Especially as you're looking to introduce a new fuel source.
absolutely. So as you go to introduce a new fuel source, this becomes I guess a solution that allows you to potentially, if you are, for example, in Mississauga is the only place I can fuel up, I might buy a few of these things, fill them all up when I go.
Yeah.
So that just like, again, having a bunch of jerry cans in the garage or whatever, so you get an extra whatever while you're during the week or whatnot. So it allows more distribution, I guess, at a
Yeah.
smaller level.
Yeah.
I can see vending machines and whatnot popping these out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like where you get when you go to conferences, you get those portable chargers and stuff like that. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So, do you think this is gonna go anywhere?
I hope so. I hope this is just another option to help people to adopt hydrogen.
Yeah, I agree. So,
Yeah.
what do you got going on, John? Since we've only got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. Honestly, besides stuff you and I are working on, I don't know what's coming up for me as far as nothing in person. I'll tell you that for the rest of the month. But the next thing for me is gonna be startup drinks on November 14th,
18th.
18th. Sorry. Yeah. How about you?
I'm working on a lot of stuff. I've got new courses launching in November. If you want to start your business in a weekend, we're having our first weekend startup business workshop where we'll take you from idea, and even if you're not sure of your idea, we'll build out your business in a weekend, and so you'll be able to do all that stuff and whatnot. So that's a great thing we're doing. We're starting a new automation series that was delayed because of one of our platforms just stopped working. So we're switching platforms and whatnot. And we got a bunch of new cool tools, new content happening over on torontostarts.com, and some of the new stuff we're doing I'm pretty excited about. But if you're stuck in your business and you want to move forward, go to startupcoach.ca, book a free discovery call. Let's talk to me about where you are and see if I can help you. And John, I know you got to go, but you help people with funding. And if they were looking for non-dilutive funding, what would you suggest they do?
Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to reach me. But yeah, I'm happy to help if you need help with Shred or any kind of grants or government funding, for sure.
And I know you got to go. Thanks everyone for watching today.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig. Oh, I still got a minute.